Hello and welcome to the global launch of Nigeria's energy transition plan. Well, today's unveiling demonstrates Nigeria's readiness and willingness to accelerate a just and equitable energy transition, not only for the country, but also for the African continent at large. And this commitment, backed by a range of international partners, is setting the stage for a global net zero future. I'm Kayode Okikiolu, anchor at Africa's News Leader Channels Television, and I'll be the moderator for today's truly August event. Now, what is this energy transition plan all about? You may be wondering. Well, let's set things rolling with this quick video that will give us an overview of Nigeria's energy transition plan.
For Nigeria, climate change is not about the perils of tomorrow, but what is happening today. Nigeria is committed to net zero by 2060.
His Excellency President Buhari's announcement of COP26 was based on the country's energy transition plan, which was developed by the federal government of Nigeria with support from the COP26 Energy Transition Council. The Energy Transition Plan indicates what is required to end energy poverty in Nigeria by 2030 and achieve net zero by 2060, and demonstrates a reduction in emissions and a significant increase in job creation. This requires an estimated $1.9 trillion in finance, which includes $410 billion above business as usual spending. Nigeria is ready to attract such investment thanks to recent power sector reforms and legal provisions on climate change. Nigeria's power sector and the wider energy transition is also supported by a range of partners, donors, and international organizations. With a plan in place, the critical next step for the government of Nigeria is implementation. This is a whole-of-government approach through an energy transition implementation working group, chaired by His Excellency Vice President Oshibajo, and includes ministers for environment, finance, power, works and housing, petroleum, and foreign affairs. The working group aims to secure $10 billion ahead of COP27. An investment opportunity of $23 billion has been identified across a portfolio of projects and programs.
Attaining national and global climate change goals will require adequate and sustained technical and financial support to developing countries.
Investing in Nigeria's energy transition portfolio will support the country's net zero ambition and contribute to achieving multiple sustainable development goals, creating a healthier and more equitable future for all Nigerians.
Well, that's an overview of the energy transition plan. And now we'll hear from our opening speaker, the Honorable Minister of Environment, Federal Government of Nigeria, Mr. Mohammed Abdullahi. Minister Abdullahi, it's over to you.
It brings me great pleasure to welcome you to the global launch of Nigeria's trailblazing energy transition plan. In today's world, climate change is a reality. In the past few months, the world has witnessed record-breaking heat waves, supercharged rainstorms, ongoing drought, and wildfires, to name a few. In Nigeria, we recorded devastating floods across the country in states like Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo. These clear climate signals indicate that we do not have the luxury of time when it comes to the impacts of climate change. The time for action is now. Nigeria understands this, and in 2017, we signed the Paris Agreement. In 2021, we extensively updated our National Determined Contributions and our Climate Change Act, the first standalone comprehensive climate change legislation in West Africa, was passed into law. Significantly, at COP26 in Glasgow, Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari announced Nigeria's commitment to a 2060 net zero target. The energy transition plan being launched today is the first of its kind in Africa. It centers on energy because we recognize that the energy sector is both the largest single source of global greenhouse gas emissions and the foundation of any vibrant economy. Our energy transition plan aims to achieve net zero by 2060, while developing new industries, improving the quality of life of all Nigerians, and creating thousands of new green jobs. The Nigerian Energy Transition Plan, under the guidance of His Excellency the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibanjo, SAN, has been fully approved by the Federal Executive Council. And as a government, we are committed to the plan and its potential to be transformative for not just our economy, but the planet as well. Nigeria is therefore proud to have shown climate leadership by developing our energy transition plan. We are grateful to partners such as Sustainable Energy for All, the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, and the World Bank that have shown support for the development and implementation of this plan. We look forward to wider support from the international community and hope to see similar strategies from other nations to tackle climate change. Once again, welcome to this global launch of Nigerian Energy Transition Plan. We aim to inspire and to provoke action on climate, energy access, and prosperity for the planet and for future generations.
Prosperity for the planet and for future generations. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Abdullahi. Well, our next speaker is Ms. Bemi Akishikwe, Research and Communications Associate from the Nigeria Energy Transition Office. And she'll be giving us a youthful perspective on the importance of Sustainable Development Goal 7 and the energy transition as being critical to the well-being of the planet for future generations. And of course, what a successful implementation of Nigeria's energy transition plan will mean for Generation 7.
Young people all over the world are already playing an active role in addressing the climate crisis. We're demanding change from those in power via protests and school strikes, and also developing innovative solutions. We recognize that climate change has increased uncertainty about our future and will exacerbate existing inequalities, particularly for those of us in developing countries. As climate signals have intensified, so have our voices and actions. Consequently, some have dubbed us Generation Climate. And in truth, we have to be, because it is the children and young people of today who will face the worst effects of climate change. Given the significant contribution of energy systems to global emissions, Generation Climate understands the urgent need for an energy transition. However, this transition must support and not impede energy access, especially in developing nations. For instance, in sub-Saharan Africa, about 568 million people live without access to electricity. Per capita electricity consumption in Nigeria is about 360 kilowatt hours compared to about 12,000 in the US and 6,500 in Europe. These energy inequities are staggering, and a just energy transition must seek to resolve them. In Nigeria, I've seen firsthand that energy poverty hinders positive educational outcomes, erodes profits of small and medium businesses, cripples entire industries, and puts countless lives at risk. SDG 7 aims to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. In our push for bolder climate action, especially related to energy, Generation Climate must also become Generation 7. We must push for universal energy access as strongly as we push for universal energy transition. I am glad that Nigeria's energy transition plan is bold on both energy access and climate goals. Successful implementation of the plan will be transformational for millions of Nigerian youth whose ingenuity, potential, talents, dreams, and ventures are largely constrained by the energy deficits in the nation. I am Generation 7, and as His Excellency Vice President Yemi Osinbajo recently wrote, I believe all Nigerians deserve to enjoy the benefits of modern energy that are taken for granted in the rich world.
Well, clearly, I'm Generation 7 as well. Thank you very much, Ms. Akishikwe. Now, coming up now is the Honorable Minister of Power, Engineer Abubakar Aliyu. He'll be giving us his remarks on the importance of energy to unlock potential for climate action and development.
It is my pleasure to speak at this event to launch Nigeria's audacious energy transition plan. Globally, we have seen decisive climate action typically start from the energy sector. Many have sought to transform their energy mix by switching from fossil fuels like coal to renewable sources like solar and wind for electricity, giving estimates that energy consumed for electricity, heat, and transport account for over 70% of global emissions. This direction is indeed positive. It is important that discussions about greening the energy sector must not ignore the realities faced by developing economies. For instance, about 91 million Nigerians still lack access to electricity, and about 175 million lack access to clean cooking solutions. With this reality, an effective energy transition strategy in our country must capture the urgent need to bring modern energy services to everyone. In other words, there can be no energy transition without energy access. Furthermore, it is clear from historical trends that sufficient economy-wide energy consumption is necessary for job creation, economic development, and poverty alleviation. In fact, there are no high-income countries today with an annual electricity consumption below 3,000 kilowatt hours per capita. Conversely, in 2020, the average electricity consumption per capita in Nigeria was only 360 kilowatt hours. This shows the massive scale of development needed to ensure growth in our country, even as we seek to tackle climate change. Consequently, a key imperative of the Nigerian Energy Transition Plan is the achievement of UN Sustainable Development Goal 7, SDG 7, which calls for universal access to clean and affordable energy by 2030. We target to achieve 30 gigawatt operational capacity by 2030, with 30% from renewable sources. Delivering Nigeria's net zero target requires huge investment in generation capacity as well as transmission and distribution infrastructure. Our plan recognizes the role natural gas must play as a transition fuel on the path to net zero. Gas will support establishing base load energy capacity, stabilizing the grid to allow for integration of renewable at scale, and addressing Nigeria's clean cooking deficit in the form of LPG. These present the opportunity to commercialize more domestic gas in the short term. Like the rest of the world, we acknowledge that energy can be a silver bullet to unlock the potential to reach net zero emissions. However, we also understand that energy poverty must urgently be addressed if we are to reach our economic development potential. Our energy transition plan recognizes the urgency of both climate change and energy poverty and outlines pathways to address these issues. My hope is that this innovative energy transition plan we have developed will advance conversations on climate action to include the development priorities of African nations. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for reminding us that there can be no energy transition without energy access. But we now welcome the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, who will speak to us about the holistic approach encapsulated in this energy transition plan.
It is truly a delight to be a part of this event, and I am pleased to highlight the concerted efforts being undertaken to showcase Nigeria's commitment to implementing our energy transition plan. Following the approval of the Energy Transition Plan by the Federal Executive Council, an Energy Transition Implementing Working Group was established based on the directive of His Excellency, the President. This working group, created as part of a government-wide approach for the delivery of the plan, is chaired by His Excellency, the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, and includes the Ministers for the Environment, Power, Finance, Petroleum Resources, Foreign Affairs, and Works and Housing as core members. Our whole-of-government approach signals the existence of significant political and social will for the achievement of Nigeria's energy transition goals. Furthermore, the plan, which is geared towards low-carbon development of energy systems across 5 key sectors: power, industry, cooking, transport, and oil and gas, is inherently multi-sectoral and requires an interdisciplinary approach. The working group and its secretariat, the Energy Transition Office, have worked to ensure alignment across government ministries, departments, and agencies, and have shared the plan with key development partners. The Energy Transition Plan indicates that achieving the 2060 net zero pathway will require $410 billion across the Nigerian economy in excess of usual spending. This translates to about $10 billion per year. An immediate priority of the working group is to secure an initial $10 billion investment package ahead of COP27 in Egypt. Focus engagements have already begun, with the World Bank committing $1.5 billion towards this target. To highlight the breadth of existing investment opportunities related to the transition, the working group has identified an existing pipeline of projects and programs worth about $23 billion across the power value chain, clean cooking, e-mobility, healthcare, and technical assistance. In addition, our government has shown leadership in decentralized renewable energy, DRE, by deploying solar plus storage solutions to government buildings, universities, and healthcare facilities. The government has adopted a holistic approach to the energy transition plan because we know that this massive effort will require unprecedented collaboration. We are committed to the execution of the plan for the betterment of the Nigerian people and the preservation of our planet.
Well, thank you, Honorable Minister. Speaking of collaboration, our next set of speakers are from the international community. They have shown great support for Nigeria and its ambition towards a net zero future. First, we'll have Mr. Mark Karato, who's a coordinator of Power Africa, followed by Dr. Kevin Kariuki, Vice President of the African Development Bank, and Dr. Rajiv Shah, the President of the Rockefeller Foundation.
Greetings. I'm Mark Corrado, privileged to lead Power Africa as its coordinator. Thank you for the chance to congratulate you on this historic milestone. The U.S. government, through Power Africa, is committed to Nigeria's energy transition plan, with its twin objectives of achieving universal access to energy by 2030 and a carbon-neutral energy system, all while providing enough energy to power industry and other productive uses. Our Nigeria Power Sector Program works to increase energy access by increasing private sector investment in power generation and transmission, facilitating off-grid connections to cleaner power supply, improving the enabling environment for private sector participation in the power sector, and promoting improved liquidity throughout the energy sector. Since the program started in 2018, we've achieved more than 2.9 million new on and off-grid connections, brought 1,100 megawatts of new generation capacity to financial close, and trained 4,000 people in the technical energy field, 1,500 of those being women. We have increased the grid evacuation capacity by 1,300 megawatts and mobilized $2.3 billion for energy projects. We're also working with energy regulators to commercialize gas flaring to increase jobs and access to cleaner energy. In partnership, we have supported over 125 off-grid companies who are advancing mini-grids with renewable energy and solar home systems to bring electricity to homes and businesses. And finally, in collaboration with over 60 partner organizations, we are key partners in the Coalition for Sustainable Electrification of Primary Health Care Centers in Nigeria, which aims to cleanly electrify 10,000 clinics by 2030. I commend you, your relentless efforts and contributions to ensuring lights go on and stay on in a clean and sustainable way and at scale. Nigeria's energy transition plan at its core is about accelerating a bright future with the people of this great nation at the center of the progress. Count me and Power Africa in. Congratulations.
Nigeria is Africa's largest economy. The country's potential as a global economic powerhouse is, however, constrained by energy poverty. Nigeria's power sector is characterized by a relatively low installed generation capacity of 13 gigawatts, about 10 gigawatts of electricity demand, and even lower available daily generation capacity of 4.5 gigawatts, which is limiting considering the size of the economy. Moreover, a significant portion of the demand is met by standby diesel generation. As a result, at 45%, Nigeria has the highest electricity access deficit globally, and 92 million Nigerians do not have access to electricity. Additionally, only about 15% of Nigerians have access to clean cooking fuels and technology, which is not surprising considering that 75% of energy used in the country is derived from biomass and waste. Accordingly, the $1.9 trillion energy transition plan being launched today and which underpins Nigeria's commitment to net zero by 2060, announced at COP26 in Glasgow last year, must be commended. This is because the plan projects how energy poverty can be bridged while guaranteeing that Nigeria has access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy to meet its sustainable development goals and meet its Paris Agreement commitments. I therefore encourage other African countries to emulate Nigeria by collaborating with international partners to formulate just and inclusive energy transition plans that firstly optimize a country's natural resources, secondly, are based on integrated energy planning approaches that address each country's electrification, clean cooking, and productive use of energy needs, and thirdly, align with the country's nationally determined contributions and long-term strategies. Finally, the African Development Bank, which is already a partner in Nigeria's energy transition through projects such as the Nigeria Electrification Project, stands ready to continue supporting the country and indeed all of Africa in formulating and effectuating just energy transition plans for the continent's sustainable development. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Vice President Osinbajo, for making today possible. And congratulations to you and everyone involved in the launch of Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan. In this plan, Nigeria has established ambitious goals for the next few years and the next few decades. The plan aims to connect all Nigerians to electricity by 2030. Today, nearly half of Nigeria's more than 200 million people live without access to the reliable, affordable electricity essential to opportunity in the 21st century. The plan also commits Nigeria to achieving net zero emissions by 2060. Millions of Nigerians are already feeling the effects of climate change, including droughts in the north and flooding in the south. This plan provides a roadmap for the government and its partners to advance these goals in an inclusive way. The Rockefeller Foundation is proud to be one of those partners. Along with the IKEA Foundation and Bezos Earth Fund and other members of the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, we look forward to working with all of you to implement this plan as quickly as possible. Together, we will deploy the latest technologies and solutions so Nigeria can meet its goals and all Nigerians can achieve their dreams. We will confront the most significant challenge of our time, climate change, and we will provide a just and equitable model for countries across Africa and around the world to follow in their own energy transitions. Together, we can make this plan good for all Nigerians and good for the world. Congratulations again on today's important launch. We look forward to continuing our work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, as we've heard from these speakers, the energy transition must be just and equitable, and success will be possible if we learn from each other and work together. Well, I believe no one understands this more than the young people of today. We'll now watch a short video with a call to action on energy access and climate from youth activists across the continent. They will be followed by brief remarks from Mr. Akhil Kalender, who's a youth specialist from Sustainable Energy for All.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeanette Gitobu, and I am a young person from Kenya. With UN estimates predicting approximately 70% of sub-Saharan's population being under the age of 30, such a significant high number of young people presents an opportunity for the continent's growth, but only if these new generations are fully empowered to realize their best potential. Which is why, as a young person, I commend the federal government of Nigeria's demonstrated political leadership in 2021 across the global energy sector by committing to net zero emissions by 2060 and the development of Nigeria's energy transition plan with twin objectives of achieving universal access to energy by 2030 and carbon neutral energy systems by 2060. These are the steps we as young people celebrate, and our call to action is that generations, both current and future, can work together in partnership to achieve these goals and ensure a just, equitable, and inclusive energy transition for all.
I'm super excited about Nigeria's energy transition plan. It's a laudable step worth emulating and a strong move showing leadership walking the talk. As part of protecting our environment for the next generation, it's time we commit to using cleaner fuels. And Nigeria's action, I believe, will send strong signals to neighboring countries like mine, Ghana, and the rest of Africa that the time to act is now.
Energy transition system is all about the making of the existing energy systems to be more cleaner and moving towards the more reliability and the renewable energy section. So as a Kenyan, I'm excited all about this, as this will help enable our systems to be more cleaner and more carbon neutral, and we'll be excited as it will also create more jobs and opportunities to Kenyans.
Hello, my name is Roberto Sacacinda. I'm a junior project manager from Angola, and it's so good that Nigeria is putting into action the energy transition plan, because it's going to serve as a role model to other African countries, because we need access to universal energy, and this is going to give better life conditions to low and middle income families, and this is going to drive our socioeconomic development.
Hi, I'm Generation 7. My name is Akil Calendar, and I'm SE Farol's first youth specialist. I have witnessed firsthand thousands of youth at international fora demanding and fighting for a seat at the table, and the positive impact and transformation that can happen when we are given the space to contribute meaningfully to policy and projects. And in this space, Nigeria is showing leadership. Nigeria is home to the largest youth population in the world, with over 70% of the country's population under the age of 30. Nigeria therefore understands that youth are not only instrumental for implementing its transition, but will also reap the most benefits from future progress on energy access, clean cooking, and energy transition. Therefore, if Nigeria is to achieve its ambitious targets of universal energy access by 2030 and net zero by 2060, the critical role of youth cannot be understated. Of the 340,000 jobs expected to be created by 2030, Nigeria's youth are expected to occupy most of these roles and contribute to the creation of many. In fact, many of Nigeria's youth are already working on bridging the critical gaps surrounding energy access and clean cooking through the development of localized, sustainable, and innovative energy solutions. Nigeria has already demonstrated its commitment to the development of its youth through the support of capacity building and innovation, and the creation of job opportunities surrounding the energy transition. Here at SE for All, we are excited to continue to support the Nigerian government's ambitious plans to ensure that youth occupy a critical role in its clean energy transition.
Well, thank you, Mr. Calendar. Clearly, young people, or as we say, Generation 7, are key to the success of the energy transition plan. Well, as the Honourable Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, highlighted during his speech earlier, there is a whole of government approach towards the implementation of the energy transition plan, and work has been done to ensure alignment across the government, ministries, departments, and agencies. In the next segment, we have Honourable Minister of State for Power, Mr. Godi Jedi Agba, followed by Mr. Melakiari, the Group Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, and Mr. Ahmed Salejo, the Managing Director of the Rural Electrification Agency of Nigeria. They'll all be sharing their remarks on the energy transition plan.
I'm pleased to be part of this event. I'm proud that Nigeria has developed an ambitious energy transition plan that centers both climate and developmental priorities. Our plan recognizes that climate strategies must bring about development if they are to be equitable and effective. Energy is the bedrock of economic development, and nations do not grow without it. With electrification rate at 45% and access to clean cooking solutions at 11%, it is clear that Nigeria needs more energy to attain our full potential. We need energy to industrialize, create thousands of jobs, and improve the living standards of our people. Therefore, our energy transition plan is geared towards the much-needed expansion of energy systems, even as we remain sensitive to the climate crisis and work to contribute our quota to resolving it. As a government, we are committed to addressing energy poverty and unlocking growth in the nation. Earlier this year, we launched the Integrated Energy Planning Tool in partnership with Sustainable Energy for All and the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. Therefore, we remain committed to continually designing targeted policies, programs, and projects to give all Nigerians adequate energy for growth. Scaling sufficient and reliable energy to power business and households is essential to Nigeria's economic development and livelihood. I am delighted that our energy transition plan was developed based on this reality and hope it serves as a blueprint for other African nations.
Your Excellency, the Vice President, members of the Federal Executive Council, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the privilege to speak on the occasion of the launching of Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan by His Excellency, the Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, GCON. This event is coming a month after the historic presidential unveiling of NNPC Limited, and with a clear vision and a renewed commitment to upscaling NNPC relevance in the global energy market while ensuring energy security for our country. I therefore thank Mr. President again for his insightful leadership and support in transforming the Nigerian petroleum industry to deliver greater value to our citizens and other stakeholders. With NNPC Limited as a fully commercial enterprise, Nigeria is well positioned to lead the African continent in a just and gradual energy transition. Nigeria, like other African countries, is endowed with an increasing young population, which needs a stronger economy to continue to generate beneficial employment to lift citizens from poverty to prosperity. NNPC recognizes the importance of activities of the oil and gas sector as a significant contributor to carbon emissions and its consequent adverse impact on the climate. We have taken steps to decarbonize our operations by primarily extinguishing gas flare from our operations, pursuing carbon capture initiatives and technological adaptations that support low carbon operation while focusing on gas as a transition fuel. Subsequently, NNPC is taking advantage of Nigeria's huge natural gas reserve of over 200 trillion cubic feet of gas, with potential to grow to 600, as more investment is expected due to the recent resolution of the production sharing contract dispute with our partners and the empowerment of NNPC by the Petroleum Industry Act to take full responsibility for commercial operations of the joint venture assets. These significant reserves will provide the resources for a low-carbon energy alternative that will support growth in the power and industrial sectors, address energy poverty, reduce carbon footprints, and create more employment opportunities. NNPC is supporting the realization of federal government National Gas Expansion Program, which seeks to deepen natural gas utilization as an alternative transportation fuel and an important speedstop for the development of gas-based industries. We are working assiduously to ensure timely delivery of major domestic gas pipeline infrastructure projects, including the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline corridor and associated power plants. NNPC is also making progress on the planned Nigeria-Morocco and the Trans-Sahara gas pipelines that will enable access by West African countries to the enormous gas resources in our country and to also deliver natural gas beyond West Africa. Going forward, NNPC will leverage partnership with the industry, governments, research institutions, and the academia to strengthen its renewable energy divisions to pursue commercially viable new energy ventures in line with Nigeria's net zero aspiration by 2060. Our goal is to be the dynamic global energy company of choice that is committed to sustainably deliver energy for today and energy for tomorrow. Thank you, Excellency, and I appreciate the privilege of speaking to this forum, and congratulations on launching of Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan.
This is a historical moment in a very important ecosystem. The official launch of the nation's Energy Transition Plan is a testament to the commitment of the Federal Republic of Nigeria towards accelerating energy access. This is a pivotal milestone and the end result of extensive engagements, data-driven recommendations, and ideas amongst very critical stakeholders. The time is now, and the time is right, for us to strategically harness the multiple possibilities achievable through universal energy access across Africa. For active stakeholders within the space, the opportunities are countless and the goal is very urgent. It is our collective responsibility to ensure a cleaner, brighter, and more sustainable future for millions of people across the African continent. The Energy Transition Plan and the targets therein will particularly impact the work that we do at the Rural Electrification Agency as we continue to deploy off-grid renewable energy technologies to power Nigeria one community at a time. I also commend SE4All for its commitments and for successfully kickstarting the Universal Energy Facility to advance the nation's effort on improved nationwide access to clean energy. Thank you and God bless.
The time is now, the time is right. Thank you, Mr. Salahijo. Well, coming up next is Mr. Mohammed Yaya, the resident representative of UNDP Nigeria. Take a listen.
The Nigeria Energy Transition Plan details a pathway for low-carbon future, with twin objectives of achieving universal access by 2030, which is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals, and two, a carbon-neutral energy system by 2060, which is in line with Nigeria government's commitment in COP26, while also providing enough energy to power industry and other productive uses. The plan covers 5 key sectors: power, cooking, transport, industry, and oil and gas. However, to deliver this ambitious plan, Nigeria will require $10 billion a year up to 2060. This is significant financial needs to be able to deliver this important plan. Therefore, partnership is a critical component of this transition plan. Nigeria, like many African countries, are seeing the impact of climate change across the country. International community support is therefore critical to ensure that Nigeria is financed to meet its goals as articulated in this important plan. We at the United Nations Development Programme are committed in supporting Nigeria implement this plan, and we will do this in many ways. We're already engaging with the government in supporting the development of capacity around implementation of this, and a lot of capacity is already injected in terms of technical know-how. We will also be supporting the government in ensuring that we help them in finding the financing that are needed to implement this plan. But I call on the international community and partners of Nigeria to support this important plan, to make sure Nigeria's commitment to both access, which is in line with the SDGs, but also its commitment to net zero is achieved by 2060. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Yaya. Now, at the start of this event, the Honorable Minister of Environment, Mr. Mohammed Abdullahi, noted that the Energy Transition Plan, which is being launched today, is the very first of its kind in Africa. So this is not just a big day for Nigeria, it is a big day for the continent. Well, now the Honorable Minister will address us yet again on why this is important and why Africa needs to play an active role in setting the climate agenda.
It has long been established that while Africa has contributed the least of any global region to both historical and current emissions, the continent is set to be hardest hit by the impacts of climate change. Recent reports indicate that Africa is warming faster than the global average and experiencing greater increases in sea level rise. These shocking reports highlight the need for urgent action by countries that are historically the most responsible for the emissions that cause climate change. In addition, African nations cannot afford to wait. We must signal our own commitment to tackling climate change by embarking on bold actions ourselves. These actions, a recognition of the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities, must be self-directed. As a continent, we must reject restrictive one-size-fits-all approaches and design transition pathways grounded in local realities and focus on the achievement of development priorities. We must tackle the climate crisis in tandem with the many other pressing concerns, including rising populations, poverty rates, security threats, energy paucity, and other declining human development indicators. Although Africa is home to about 17% of the world's population, it generates only 4% of the world's electricity. Close to 600 million Africans have no access to electricity, and 780 million Africans rely on traditional solid biomass for cooking. Any climate strategy that does not involve the rapid build-out of energy systems to address this deficit is unjust and unacceptable. The global energy transition must be inclusive, equitable, and just, particularly for developing countries. This means accounting for diverse realities and accommodating various pathways to net zero. At the same time, African nations need to take ownership and begin shaping these pathways. We are already seeing exemplary vision across the continent, with a number of countries, including Nigeria, developing and signing onto the Kigali Communique, which came out of the Sustainable Energy for All Forum in June and outlines principles for a just and equitable energy transition. The next step is to articulate clear pathways that capture these principles. We hope that the Energy Transition Plan being launched today will be the first of many on the continent. Nigeria has taken the first step, but we look to our brothers and sisters across Africa to join us. It is time for Africa to set the agenda on these issues and come together at this pivotal moment for our people and for our future.
Well, thank you again, Honorable Minister. As we've heard throughout this event, energy transition must also ensure economic development and poverty alleviation, not just for Nigeria, but for all countries across our continent. We need a strong collective voice, and Nigeria cannot do this alone. So as a testament to the camaraderie between African nations, we are joined by honorable ministers from Senegal and Egypt, who will give us their remarks showing their commitments to a just and equitable energy transition for the African continent. We begin with the Honorable Minister of Petroleum and Energies from Senegal, Dr. Aissatou Sophie Gladima, followed by the Honorable Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy from Egypt and COP27 champion, Dr. Mohamed Shakar El Merkabi.
Combat noble pour plusieurs raisons, porté par son Excellence le Président Macky Sall, président du Sénégal, par ailleurs président de l'Union africaine. En effet, pour arriver à ce niveau de développement actuel, les pays industrialisés ont usé et même abusé pendant plusieurs siècles de la révolution industrielle jusqu'à nos jours des ressources à leur disposition, à savoir ces ressources énergétiques fossiles, mais également les ressources minières, d'abord chez eux, puis dans d'autres continents comme le nôtre. Cela a, au fil du temps, profondément affecté notre société sur tous les plans et particulièrement sur le plan environnemental, avec des dérèglements climatiques que nous constatons aujourd'hui. De notre côté, nous avons près de 600 millions d'Africains qui n'ont toujours pas accès à l'électricité et aux énergies modernes de cuisson, au même moment où dans beaucoup de pays du continent, nous avons des réserves importantes de pétrole et de gaz. Quelle ironie! La problématique qui se pose à notre continent résulte des interpellations de ces pays industrialisés. Grands pollueurs, pourquoi n'exploitent pas ces ressources dans le but d'endiguer ces changements climatiques qu'eux-mêmes ont grandement causés? Or, l'Afrique ne peut pas bâtir seulement son développement économique à partir des énergies renouvelables. Ni l'Afrique ne saurait se priver d'une partie de ses options d'émergence dans cette lutte mondiale contre les changements climatiques, car sa contribution sur les émissions de gaz à effet de serre insignifiante est de moins de 3%. C'est pour cela, étant donné la faible contribution du continent à ces émissions, un système d'équilibre est nécessaire. Les pays industrialisés qui ont le plus pollué doivent s'engager sur un maximum d'efforts pour baisser leurs émissions, faciliter les investissements, ce qui nous permettra de notre côté de s'orienter davantage dans des sources d'énergie à bas carbone comme le gaz et ou les énergies renouvelables. Cela aura pour effet d'adresser efficacement et en priorité le défi énorme de fourniture de l'électricité et de l'énergie propre de cuisson à l'ensemble de nos populations. Ensuite, cela facilitera l'industrialisation d'une population africaine jeune et en attente de changement, fortement engagée à assurer un équilibre entre nos efforts légitimes de développement économique et social et nos engagements en faveur de la lutte contre les effets du changement climatique. Seulement, nous devons admettre que les trajectoires vers la transition énergétique doivent nécessairement s'appuyer sur des différences de niveau en matière de progrès économique et social pour assurer la paix, la sécurité et la stabilité de nos pays. Toutes ces raisons ont poussé donc son Excellence le Président de la République, président de l'Union africaine, M. Macky Sall, à promouvoir une transition énergétique lente, juste, équitable et durable pour un meilleur épanouissement de l'homme sur cette planète. Oui pour la protection de la planète, mais également oui pour l'utilisation des ressources de la planète pour le bonheur de l'homme, pour la stabilité de nos pays.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I have the pleasure to participate with you today in Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan Forum. I am confident that our event will be a platform to share ideas and experiences, as well as strengthen our strategies regarding just energy transition in Africa. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, there are about 550 million people in Africa who do not have access to electricity and modern energy services, and more than 900 million people in the African continent relying on traditional use of biomass, such as charcoal and firewood, as their primary source of energy for cooking. Most of these people live in sub-Saharan Africa. Therefore, a just transition to a renewable energy must be pursued by all countries and societies to supply Africa brothers with modern energy services which are affordable, reliable, and available. The African continent includes multiple treasures of human labor, minerals, oil and gas. Africa possesses the largest arable area in the world, and it has countless tropical forests. But most of these treasures are not exploited yet. Therefore, we still have a great opportunity to achieve the prosperity of the African people, which can be achieved through proper planning. The long-term strategic planning of infrastructure projects for the African continent is a step forward, and many efforts on the continent need to be enhanced, refined, and combined for an integrated vision of our continent, which is the cradle of humanity. To build this future, the continent needs a lot of support from developed countries, such as adequate resource mobilization, technology transfer, and qualified youth who understand the extent of the next challenges and lead a project of an integrated development using effective means and spreading development thinking on the largest possible scale. We will not forget the role of women towards sustainable infrastructure, as it is vital in the transition to green economy in our African continent. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, accelerating Africa's achievement of SDG 7 with a sustainable, just energy transition is of utmost importance. Africa has vast resources potential in wind, solar, hydro, and geothermal energy, and abundant mineral resources essential for the production of electric batteries, wind turbines, and other low-carbon technologies. Therefore, African member states have a unique opportunity to position their energy for growth opportunity as a critical pillar of the just energy transition. COP27 will be of significance for the parties to achieve their commitments and pledges to advance the goals of the Paris Agreement, strengthen the Convention's implementation, and advance the outcomes of COP26. Since COP27 will be hosted in an African country, it is expected to focus on climate impact and adaptation in Africa. In this regard, Egypt is intending to support African countries in accelerating their energy transition, taking into consideration building on the existing initiatives to achieve coherence and integration with them. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the global changes confirm that any country alone cannot face the new challenges and cannot secure its own energy resources. So there is a need to increase the cooperation among all countries and regional communities through technology transfer, exchange of experiences, and enhancing regional markets. Finally, I want to assure you that we need a series of policy interventions in order to enable a transition where no one is left behind. A just and inclusive transition requires a global compact among countries, adequate resource mobilization, and measures tailored to the challenges faced by various countries. I wish you a successful forum and constructive discussions. Thank you.
Well, thank you, honorable ministers. I must say it is heartwarming to see such passion from various governments. This is truly a moment for collaboration and an opportunity for the private sector to step up and make a difference and be partners in a clean and sustainable future. Well, let's get more on this. Our next set of speakers will focus on this collaboration and showcase different perspectives, starting with young people. First, we'll hear from youth climate activist Mr. Olumide Dowu, then from Ms. Teriye Badigeshi, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer at ARM Harris, who will talk about energy investment and the opportunity for the sector within the energy transition. Well, this will be followed by Mr. Ade Adiola, the Managing Director of Energy and Natural Resources, Standard Chartered Bank, then Mr. Sergio Pimenta, the Vice President for Africa International Finance Corporation. Mr. Adam Cortese comes next, the CEO of Global Sun Africa, and Mr. Shubham Chaudhry, the Nigeria Country Director for the World Bank.
We cannot achieve a just and equitable energy transition without the proper resources. For too long, the scale have been unfairly tipped to benefit regions and countries who already have enough electricity to live a decent life and who already have access to flexible financing options. But climate change is an equal opportunity hazard that will require all of us to find the resources needed for the world to transition. No one can be left behind in this global fight for our planet. We must move beyond discussion to how much, to how soon we can fight and finance the global transition. And that is why the energy transition plan of the Nigerian government is very timely. And I look forward on behalf of young people to see how we can translate this plan into action and how this action can help the sustainable growth of our country. Thank you very much.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us today for the launch of Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan. Let me first start by congratulating the leadership of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the President Muhammadu Buhari, and the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. Thank you for your leadership in a time when Africa's voice is needed so greatly. Nigeria, as a global theme champion on energy transition, centers on the fact that the global transition is fundamentally country-driven. And the collection of credible country-led strategies is what will drive actual global change. Nigeria's energy transition plan takes the bold step of laying out a robust sector-based strategy for how Nigeria will meet net zero emissions by 2060. As a fund manager, investing in infrastructure in West Africa with a focus on sustainability and climate action, this blueprint is foundational to our work. In fact, national country strategies are foundational to making impact cases for investing in infrastructure, especially as tied to the energy transition and climate change. Electrification, transport, clean cooking, and also the role of gas and the nuances around that, especially for countries that are oil dependent, is very important as we lay out our own investment strategies. At the same time, the energy transition must be just. It must create opportunity, it must create jobs, and it must improve livelihoods. This plan provides a framework for how this could be achieved. Now, while climate change is arguably the greatest challenge of our time, the energy transition is potentially one of the greatest opportunities of our time. It speaks to a way we would improve the way we consume, the way we produce, and ultimately, the way we live. Thank you so much for having me.
Standard Chartered recognizes the need for a real conversation about a just transition and the challenges of achieving net zero and improving energy access in emerging markets. In 2021, we launched 16 new sustainable finance products linked to ESG, and we are committed to expanding the scale and reach of sustainable finance with plans to mobilize about 300 billion in green and transition finance by 2030. Working with key stakeholders, we are actively supporting projects that deliver access to cleaner energy in Nigeria and across Africa. We are also supporting the oil and gas sector in the transition to net zero and financing clients in emerging markets where the transition to cleaner energy is a critical part of their journey. This includes gas flaring reduction and decarbonization of industrial value chains. We look forward to working with stakeholders and businesses across Nigeria and Africa in delivering these important objectives.
Climate change is one of the greatest development challenges of our time. As the world embraces decarbonization, it is imperative that Africa achieves a fair and just transition to clean energy while addressing its energy access gap. IFC congratulates the federal government of Nigeria and Nigerians on today's launch of Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan. This is an excellent initiative by the government, which should help shape many critical discussions on energy transition in Nigeria, in Africa, and globally. The transition plan duly notes that achieving universal energy access by 2030 and a carbon-neutral energy system by 2060 will require a transformation of Nigeria's energy sector. It estimates that Nigeria will need an additional $410 billion over the next 30 years to achieve carbon neutrality. The private sector can play an important role in supporting Nigeria to meet these targets. To increase the private sector's investments in the energy transition will require putting in place an enabling policy and regulatory environment. At IFC, we stand ready to support Nigeria's ambitions in reducing greenhouse gas emissions using our investment advisory products and providing technical assistance. We look forward to joining future discussions and working with Nigeria and other partners in mitigating the impacts of climate change. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Adam Cortese and I'm the CEO of Sun Africa, a renewable energy company with a mission to bring affordable green energy to the African continent swiftly and at scale. In 2020, Sun Africa and Niger Delta Power Holding Company signed a joint development agreement and have spent the last 2 years developing a transformative project in line with the federal government of Nigeria's Economic Sustainability Plan, addressing widespread electrification, local job creation, and knowledge and technology transfers. The project contemplates more than 1 gigawatt of utility-scale solar power generation in multiple locations, inclusive of battery storage, interconnection and distribution infrastructure, and solar mini-grids. To ensure the broadest and most comprehensive approach to electrification, we're also implementing solar cabins and solar home systems where mini-grids are not economically viable. This project will diversify the energy mix of the country, provide clean and reliable electricity, improve energy security, modernize the Nigerian grid, increase access to electricity in rural areas, and contribute immensely to Nigeria's economy in the coming years. The launch of Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan has further accelerated our efforts, proving Nigeria to be fertile ground for U.S. investment in the energy sector. Together, we're now on the cusp of delivering this transformative project, having completed the necessary technical, permitting, and environmental plans, and are presently in the final stages of discussion with US Exim Bank on a $1.5 billion financing package. We're truly excited by the future and are looking forward to helping Nigeria lead by way of example in Africa. Thank you.
The World Bank's primary mission here in Nigeria is to help the government in its own aspiration of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. To realize that aspiration, we have to be able to provide Nigerian businesses with power, Nigerian households with access to energy, and to do so in a way that's climate friendly, that's sustainable, and is aligned with His Excellency the President's commitment to net zero by 2060, which he made at COP26. We are at the World Bank are very invested in the power sector, in the energy sector, in the whole climate change agenda. And therefore, the development of this very ambitious energy transition plan provides a perfect opportunity for us to even ramp up our support for this critical agenda. We plan to commit over $1.5 billion towards the energy transition plan on renewable energy, on power sector reforms, and potentially hydropower, clean cooking, wherever the opportunities arise. The policy and institutional reforms that will be necessary are also part of the agenda, and we hope to be able to provide support there. The fundamental imperative of energy access, but in a way that's consistent with the energy transition, well, what I think of as the NEAT imperative, the Nigeria Energy Access and Transition Imperative, is something that we here at the World Bank are absolutely committed to supporting.
Well, as we just heard, we have a total of about $3 billion in commitments being made towards Nigeria's energy transition. Well, this is a huge step forward in making this plan a reality. Well, coming up next is Mr. Simon Harford, is a CEO of Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, as well as Mr. Mike Bloomberg, founder of Bloomberg Philanthropies. Well, both of these organizations have been strong supporters of Nigeria's clean energy transition.
Thank you, Your Excellency Vice President Osinbajo, for bringing us together today to launch Nigeria's energy transition plan. To the many partners of the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, we're honored to join you here today in support of such a crucial agenda. Why is it so important? Nigeria has the world's largest unelectrified population, 90 million people, some 45% of the country. But in addition, Nigeria's economic development requires more electricity, more generation, not less. How do we achieve that with clean energy, not more diesel? And how do we stop the levels of unhealthy cooking? How do we solve energy poverty at the same time? These are intertwined objectives. They're all essential to Nigeria. The solution has to solve all. So we can't expect business as usual. What's needed first is a plan. And that's where we commend Nigeria's leadership in focusing, first of all, on a holistic energy transition plan. Without a plan, it will not work. Your plan is holistic, it's ambitious, and it's inclusive of what Nigeria's society needs. Next is implementation. Implementation, implementation. How is that going to best happen? First of all, we believe it has to remain country-led, under Nigeria's strong political leadership and prioritization. How to embed implementation into the next government, how to continue to use the Energy Transition Office as a resource for the government to accelerate and scale the implementation. It needs the private sector. That is the largest source of capital, but it's also the source of sustainable business models, innovation, and technology. So Nigeria needs to be taking every step it can to attract private sector solutions. And that's competitive. If the market is not competitive with the policies, the regulation, the certainty, the enablers, capital will go elsewhere. And thirdly, it needs partners. We bring a coalition of support to assist Nigeria, where everyone can play to their strengths and be coordinated. That's what GIAP is here for. We're a coalition of over 20 partners of philanthropy, funders, implementers, governments, and others. We're already in action in Nigeria, working with SE for All, with the Rural Electrification Agency, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and so many other partners already underway trying to assist the implementation of your plan. So we congratulate you today on the launch of this officially, but it's just the beginning. And GIAP stands ready to support the government of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria as you implement this critical agenda, as we all change energy for good. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and let me thank both the Nigerian government and the team at Sustainable Energy for All for bringing us together. Back in May, Bloomberg Philanthropies announced a major new investment. We're helping 10 countries with enormous clean energy potential, including Nigeria, avoid coal and accelerate their energy transitions. And it's great to see Nigeria step up with the big ambitious plan you're launching today. Moving towards a net zero economy will bring economic and health benefits to the people of Nigeria, but government can't do it alone. At Bloomberg Philanthropies, we've worked with public and private sector partners to fight climate change, improve public health, and create good-paying jobs, all at the same time. Your plan is sending the right signal to investors, and we hope it will inspire more countries to join you ahead of COP27. So thanks again for your partnership in this urgent work, and all the best.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bloomberg. Call Nigeria's energy transition plan bold, and you will be right. After all, fortune, they say, favors the bold. But it's not just bold, it is one with substantial financial requirements. And to walk us through these requirements and how Nigeria and indeed Africa can be at the forefront of this new economy, we have the Honorable Minister of Finance from Nigeria, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the energy transition plan that we are launching today is bold, ambitious, and has the potential to generate monumental impact across the entire nation. However, it is important to highlight that this additional plan requires significant financial support. According to the plan, delivering Nigeria's net zero target requires spending $1.9 trillion up to 2060, including $410 billion above business as usual. This additional financial requirement breaks down to $150 billion net expense on improving generation capacity, $135 billion on building transmission and distribution infrastructure, $79 billion on developing clean cooking solutions, $21 billion on decarbonizing industry, and $12 billion on transport, and another $12 billion on oil and gas decarbonization. We will need to crowd in about $10 billion per annum till 2060 to deliver the additional funding required for implementing Nigeria's energy transition plan. Access to finance remains the biggest challenge for accelerating climate and development action in Africa. At COP26 in Glasgow, G7 nations announced $8.5 billion South Africa Just Energy Transition Partnership to support the nation's coal phase-out. We hope that this, in fact, sets the precedence on a clean energy offer to developing countries and emerging markets like Nigeria. A green energy package should offer at least $10 billion per year over the next 2 decades to aid the delivery of energy transition goals. In addition, there needs to be a hiatus on blanket bans for fossil fuel financing in developing countries, particularly for natural gas, which is essential as a transition fuel for establishing baseload power capacity and clean cooking solutions. Stated and presumed bans on natural gas from the West have significantly impeded the ability to raise financing for key gas infrastructure in Nigeria. It is therefore a welcome development that the EU decided to label natural gas as a green investment opportunity earlier this year. For our part, the government of Nigeria is implementing several sector reforms, such as the Power Sector Recovery Program, the Auto Gas Initiative, the gas flaring commercialization, the LPG penetration, and gas-based industry framework. We're also putting in place enabling policies and incentives like the 3-year tax holiday for independent power generation and qualified investments, and making investment-grade data and tools such as the Nigeria Integrated Energy Planning Tool public policy available to demonstrate our investment readiness and commitment to the transition. In addition, we are continuing efforts to address macroeconomic issues. We are also keen to develop frameworks for carbon pricing in-country to ensure sustainable revenues for climate action. Nigeria has developed data-driven energy pathways, and we seek finance commitments and support from the international community to transition justly and equitably. With access to the right tools, global investors will benefit by tapping into the innovation and potential returns in our market, which is yet to be fully optimized. Nigeria is a unique climate case and presents perhaps the greatest opportunity for impact on the continent. Nigeria is willing and ready. We call on investors to take advantage of the new opportunities that our energy transition plan is opening today. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Nigeria is willing and ready. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Well, let's switch gears now, shall we? We've heard from the Honorable Ministers, we've heard from the private sector. It is time now to hear from the international community, especially multilateral organizations, on their support for this plan. First on the lineup is Ms. Damilola Ogunbiyi, the CEO and Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General for Sustainable Energy for All, followed by Mr. Francesco Lacamara, the Director General of the International Renewable Energy Agency, and Ms. Auna Eziakowa, UNDP's Regional Director for Africa.
Distinguished Excellencies, colleagues, and friends, it is my pleasure to be speaking with you all today. I'm delighted to be part of this public launch of Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan. Without a doubt, energy is an essential part of everything we do. It is a critical ingredient in our daily activities. At the same time, energy also accounts for over 2/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions, contributing significantly to the climate crisis. Both these challenges need to be addressed urgently, or we will remain far off track in ending energy poverty and meeting our net zero ambition. To get there, we need bold and urgent action towards a just and equitable energy transition. This requires an understanding that we must address climate change, energy poverty, and development. Recognizing that countries at different stages of development need sufficient sustainable energy to grow their economies as well as develop along a low carbon pathway. I'd like to commend the federal government of Nigeria for taking a bold step at COP26 last year and announcing its commitments to achieving net zero by 2060. That includes delivering universal energy access for its entire population by 2030. The Energy Transition Council, of which I co-chair with the COP26 president, supported the government in the development of an energy transition plan that is backed by comprehensive and robust data and analysis and outlines the country's unique energy transition pathway. Nigeria has also championed a just, equitable, and inclusive energy transition through its role as a global theme champion on energy transition at last year's United Nations High-Level Dialogue on Energy and by submitting an ambitious energy compact. Beyond Nigeria, we have seen other African countries demonstrating a willingness to be equal partners in the global fight against climate change, including through the Kigali communique that was the outcome of an African ministerial meeting held on the sidelines of the Sustainable Energy for All Forum in Kigali in May. The communique begins to define what a just and equitable energy transition would mean for the region, outlining transformative actions towards achieving Sustainable Development Goal 7. In this pivotal decade of action, we must collaborate to succeed on achieving our multiple goals on climate, energy, and development. Once again, I commend the federal government of Nigeria for taking this important step and in bringing together so many partners to enable a just and equitable clean energy transition. Thank you for listening.
The Energy Transition Plan, at its core, offers a real opportunity for Nigeria to contribute towards addressing the rising threat of climate change while championing both globally and in Africa the cause for a just, equitable, and inclusive energy transition. ARENA remains committed to supporting countries in their energy transition, and our support for Nigeria has gone from strength to strength in the recent years. We'll be hosting this year our Regional Investment Forum in Abuja, as well as organizing our flagship International Off-Grid Renewable Energy Conference during the International Energy Transition Week in Nigeria. This, together with the Climate Invest platform and the Energy Transition Accelerating Financing Platform, will accelerate investment in energy transition to meet Nigeria's net zero commitment. We look forward to further strengthening our valued partnership with Nigeria. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Congratulations, Nigeria, on this critical milestone, launching the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan. Nigeria has demonstrated remarkable leadership, walking the talk on the move towards net zero. I hope that other African countries can invest in a similar manner. If we plan better now, we will reap dividends down the road. It is a complex set of parameters that Africa juggles, and maintaining the balance between net zero and development results is difficult. There will be workforce displacement, stranded assets. The cost to net zero for Nigeria by 2050 is a daunting $410 billion, but there are reasons to be confident. Job creation in the net zero scenario is higher than job losses, both in 2030 and 2050 timeframes. And being in the Sahel region, the solar energy production capacity is higher than any other region in the world. I am confident about Africa's ability to tap opportunities in this transition. This is why UNDP is supporting Nigeria's Rural Electrification Agency to increase off-grid lighting and solar PV mini-grids. We are aiming for impact where it matters most, for poor and marginalized populations. We're insisting on scale for empowerment of industry and creation of livelihood opportunities, particularly for youths and women. UNDP's Africa Mini-Grids program is an investment that we hope will bring clean energy to 500 million additional people around the world by 2025. We must continue on a nationally relevant path to net zero while ring-fencing the right to development, while defeating inequality. That, for us, is what Just Transitions is all about. Congratulations, and count on UNDP for partnership in the steps ahead.
Well, thank you, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Well, the clean energy transition is central to addressing multiple global crises that our world is currently faced with. We'll now hear from Ms. Amina J. Mohammed, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as the Secretary General has highlighted, we face a climate emergency that requires accelerated action. With energy accounting for more than 2/3 of global emissions, a rapid and unprecedented global energy transition must be at the center of our efforts to meet the 1.5-degree goal of the Paris Agreement and avoid the worst impacts of climate disruption. Today, we have heard from key government stakeholders and global partners about Nigeria's ambitious energy transition plan, which clearly articulates how the nation intends to meet its net zero commitment made at COP26. We also heard of the scale of resources required for the delivery of the plan and the need for support from the private sector, investment partners and philanthropies. The need for a just and equitable transition for energy which enables universal energy access, economic growth and development for the country and continent was also emphasized. This is critical to note because as we embark upon the global energy transition, the stark energy poverty in developing regions of the world cannot be ignored. Universal access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all, as called for in Sustainable Development Goal 7, is still out of reach. This is particularly true for sub-Saharan Africa. Consequently, our global energy transition strategies must tackle energy poverty. We need to develop ways to provide universal access to energy for electrification and clean cooking. I applaud Nigeria's leadership in developing a data-driven energy transition plan to achieve SDG 7 by 2030 and net zero emissions by 2060. Nigeria's plan recognizes the temporary need for transition fuels to speedily meet energy deficits and drive economic growth while ensuring a transition to renewable energy for sustainable and climate-resilient development. It is truly commendable that Nigeria has developed this bold plan and remains committed to its implementation, even as the ongoing global energy crisis risks setting some governments back in their commitment to SDG 7 and climate goals. I hope Nigeria's example will inspire other nations to act boldly on both energy access and climate goals to secure the well-being of people, economies, societies, and our planet. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Madam Deputy Secgen. And finally, the moment we have all been waiting for. It is my pleasure to now hand it over to His Excellency, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, SAN, Vice President of Nigeria, who will give us his remarks and officially launch Nigeria's energy transition plan.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us at this global launch of Nigeria's energy transition plan. I'm grateful to all our partners and sister governments for their support on the plan and for their robust participation in the launch today. Climate change is perhaps the greatest existential threat of our lifetime. The most reliable evidence today shows that every inhabited region across the globe is already affected and that no place on Earth will be immune to its effects. In Africa, the effects are expected to be particularly damaging. For instance, climate change threatens crop productivity in regions that are already food insecure. And since agriculture provides the largest number of jobs, reduced crop productivity will simply worsen unemployment. Yet from all indicators, as a global community, we are way behind schedule on the pathway to limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. It is certainly time for decisive action, and we just cannot afford to delay. African nations are rising to the challenge. All African countries have signed the Paris Agreements, and some countries, South Africa, Sudan, Angola, and Nigeria, have also announced net zero targets. But for Africa, the problem of energy poverty is as important as our climate ambitions. Energy use is crucial for almost every conceivable aspect of development: wealth, health, nutrition, water, infrastructure, education, and life expectancy are significantly related to the consumption of energy per capita. Africa, with about 17% of the world's population, only generates 4% of the world's electricity. The current lack of power hurts livelihoods and destroys the dreams of hundreds of millions of young people. And although Africa's current unmet energy needs are huge, future demand will even be greater due to expanding populations, urbanization, and movement into the middle class. It is clear that the continent must address its energy constraints and would require external support and policy flexibility to deliver this. Unfortunately, in the wider responses to the climate crisis, we're not seeing careful consideration and acknowledgement of Africa's aspirations. For instance, despite the tremendous energy gaps, global policies are increasingly constraining Africa's energy technology choices. There's a clear need for African nations to engage more critically and vocally in conversations on our global climate future. More importantly, we need to take ownership of our transition pathways and design climate-sensitive strategies that address our growth objectives. This is what Nigeria has sought to do with our energy transition plan. The plan was designed to tackle the dual crises of energy poverty and climate change and deliver SDG 7 by 2030 and net zero by 2060, while centering the provision of energy for development, industrialization, and economic growth. We anchored the plan on key objectives, including lifting 100 million people out of poverty in a decade, driving economic growth, bringing modern energy services to the full population, and managing the expected long-term job loss in the oil sector due to global decarbonization. Given these objectives, the plan recognizes the role of natural gas in the short term to facilitate the establishment of baseload energy capacity and address the nation's clean cooking deficit in the form of LPG. The plan envisions vibrant industries powered by low-carbon technologies, streets lined with electric vehicles, and livelihoods enabled by sufficient and clean energy. The plan has the potential to create about 340,000 jobs by 2030 and 840,000 jobs by 2060. And it presents a unique opportunity to deliver a true low-carbon and rapid development model in Africa's largest economy. However, the plan also highlights the significant scale of resources required to attain both development and climate ambitions. Nigeria would need to spend $410 billion above business as usual spending to deliver a transition plan by 2060, which translates to about $10 billion per year. The average $3 billion per year investments in renewable energy recorded for the whole of Africa between the years 2000 and 2020 will certainly not suffice. Towards implementation of the plan, we have an interministerial energy transition implementation working group, which I have the privilege of chairing. We are currently engaging with partners to secure an initial $10 billion support package ahead of COP27, along the lines of the South African Just Energy Transition Partnership, which was announced at COP26 in Glasgow. In addition, we are currently implementing power sector initiatives and reforms that are focused on expanding our grid, increasing generation capacity, and employing renewable energy to rural and underserved populations. Significantly, today, we're also launching an innovative results-based finance program that focuses specifically on scaling up electricity access for productive users. The Universal Energy Facility will provide grant payments to enable solar companies expand their operations to small and medium-sized enterprises across Nigeria, while crowding in additional private capital. Projects that are sponsored by the Universal Energy Facility will help grow businesses and create jobs, making them key contributors to our energy transition plan. And I'd like to encourage solar companies in attendance today to engage with this innovative financing opportunity, which is being managed by the Sustainable Energy for All, C4All. We developed our energy transition plan to engage with the rest of the world in a serious, thorough, and data-backed manner. We're hopeful that investors and the global community, particularly in the lead-up to COP27, will recognize the immense opportunities and potential for impact on the African continent. Working together, we can make this moment count for Nigeria, for Africa, and the rest of the world. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you, Your Excellency, for those instructive words. It is now official. Congratulations on the launch of the Energy Transition Plan and the Universal Energy Facility. Well, it is wonderful to hear that Nigeria is fully committed to ensuring the implementation of the Energy Transition Plan, or the ETP, and making this moment count for current and future generations. Well, on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria, I welcome you all to explore this plan on this website, just right there on the screen, energytransition.gov.ng. We also have more information on the financing opportunities offered by the Universal Energy Facility in Nigeria. This can be found on that website, se4all.org/SSPU. It's been an amazing experience. This is history in the making. I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the day. We have a lot of work ahead of us in implementing this energy transition plan for Nigeria, for Africa, and indeed for the world. I'm Kayode Okikiolu. On behalf of the team, goodbye.